Hello everyone, welcome to Borthakur's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. I am your friend Atri and today I am here with another segment of Current Affairs 365 dated 6th of October 2021. Current Affairs 365 is your one-stop solution for any news and updates which will help you prepare for your civil services examination, and along with that it is also going to be beneficial for any other Assam state government services. So don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram for any further details related to job notifications. Now without any further ado, let's get started. The first news of today is about the simplified process of renunciation of Indian citizenship. The Ministry of Home Affairs has simplified the process for Indians who want to give up their citizenship. Earlier, the central government issued a notification granting powers related to citizenship applications under existing rules to the authorities of 5 states. Provisions have been made for applicants to upload documents online with an upper limit of 60 days for the renunciation process to be completed. Over 6.7 lakh Indians have renounced their citizenship between 2015 and 19. If we have a look at the constitutional provisions related to citizenship, then it is listed in the Union list under the Constitution, and thus citizenship is under the exclusive jurisdiction of Parliament. The Constitution does not define the term citizen, but details of various categories of persons who are entitled to citizenship are given in Part 2 between Articles 5 to 11. Unlike other provisions of the Constitution which came into being on 26th of January 1950, these articles were enforced on 26th of November 1949 itself when the Constitution was adopted. The Citizenship Act of 1955 prescribes 5 ways of acquiring citizenship, namely birth, descent, registration, naturalization and incorporation of territory. The Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 amended the law to fast-track citizenship for religious minorities, specifically Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis and Christians from Afghanistan, Bangladesh and Pakistan who entered India prior to 2015. The requirement for them to stay in India for at least 11 years before applying for Indian citizenship has been reduced to 5 years by naturalization. Now let us have a look at the ways to renounce citizenship in our country. There are 3 main different ways. First is through voluntary renunciation. If an Indian citizen wishes, who is of the full age and capacity, he can relinquish citizenship of India by his will. After a person gives up his citizenship, every minor child of that person also loses Indian citizenship. However, when such a child attains the age of 18, he may resume the citizenship of our country. Then by termination. The Constitution of India provides single citizenship, which means an Indian person can only be a citizen of one country at a time. So, if a person takes the citizenship of another country, then his Indian citizenship ends automatically. However, this provision does not apply when India is busy in war. And thirdly, through deprivation by government. Our government may terminate the citizenship of an Indian citizen if the citizen has disrespected the Constitution, if he has obtained citizenship by fraud, the citizen has unlawfully traded or communicated with the enemy during a war, then if that person within 5 years of registration or naturalization has been sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment in any country, and lastly, if the citizen has been living outside India for 7 years continuously. Moving ahead to the next news, which is regarding a report titled India's Path to Power, Strategy in a World Adrift. It highlighted several foreign policy recommendations for India in the present context. This report underlined that the strategic autonomy, openness and inclusive economic growth are the key guiding principles for our country currently. Let us now have a look at the key points. First is shift of global economy. With the rise of China and India and parallel decline of European Union and US's hegemony, the global balance of power is slowly shifting towards Asia. This gets reflected in the growing popularity of the Indo-Pacific region among the Western countries. Second point is related to reinforcing multipolar world order. There is an increasing trend towards multipolarity in Asia and the world. It is in India's interest now to reinforce this trend, and in this context, India should try to reorient its foreign policy towards mobilizing the larger constituency of developing countries along with the emerging economies with which it has convergent interests. Such interests should be advanced through reinforcing multilateral institutions as well as processes. Then the next point is about maintaining strategic autonomy. Strategic autonomy must go in parallel with the further strengthening of partnerships with US, Japan and Europe, which share India's security concerns and develop prospects. The next point is about keeping up with globalization. Even though in some respects globalization may have stalled, but in the past and in the coming future, it will be driven by rapid technological advancements. Therefore, in order to enhance its economic prospects and improve the welfare of its people, India must maintain an outward orientation of its economy. Fifth point says managing the neighborhood first. If India wants to play an expanded regional and global role and become a net security provider, it needs to better manage the threats and opportunities emanating from the neighboring countries. And in this context, India should deal with the Chinese challenge, because China acknowledges India to be the only country in its neighborhood with a comparable area, population, history, manpower and scientific and technological capabilities who can surpass it. It also asserted that China-Pakistan collusion demands India to adopt a politically guided strategic approach. Last point of this report is preventing domestic politics affecting foreign policy. There have been several instances where many countries have cited reservations to various domestic policies of our country. The latest example is Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019. In this context, domestic policies should reflect inclusivity, reducing inequalities and delivering core responsibilities of health, education and public security to all its citizens. Also, there is a need to realize that India's innate cosmopolitanism is derived from its extraordinary diversity. Moving ahead to the next news, which is about early warning system for landslide and flood. The Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, National Geophysical Research Institute, has launched an environmental seismology group to develop a landslide and flood early warning system for the Himalayan region. The scientists at the NGRI, in collaboration with German scientists at GFZ Potsdam, have launched this system. This early warning system will be based on real-time monitoring with dense seismological networks, which are coupled with satellite data, numerical modeling and geomorphic analysis. The greatest strength of broadband seismic network is that it enables a complete spatio-temporal tracking of the entire disaster sequence. Early warning systems will help in reduction of economic losses and will also help in mitigating the number of injuries or deaths from that disaster. This will be done by providing information that allows individuals and communities to protect their lives and property. Coming to landslide, it is defined as the movement of a mass of rock, debris or earth down a slope. They are a type of mass wasting which denotes any downward movement of soil and rock under the direct influence of gravity. The term landslide encompasses 5 modes of slope movement, which includes falls, topples, slides, spreads and flows. Slope movement occurs when forces acting downward, they exceeds the strength of the earth materials that composes the slope. Landslides thus are caused due to 3 major factors, which includes geology, morphology and human activity. Coming to the landslide prone areas, entire Himalayan tract, mountains in the sub-Himalayan terrains of northeast India, western Ghats, the Nilgiris of Tamil Nadu and Konkan areas are prone to landslide. Here, the Geological Survey of India has launched and undertook a national program on landslide susceptibility mapping for mapping these prone areas of the country. Next is flood. These are quite frequent type of natural disaster, and they mainly occur when an overflow of water submerges land that is usually dry. It is often caused by heavy rainfall, rapid snow melt, or a storm surge from a tropical cyclone or tsunami in the coastal areas. Majorly, there are three common types of floods, which includes flash floods, river floods, and coastal floods. Flash floods are caused by rapid and excessive rainfall, which rises the water heights quickly, and these are highly localized events of short duration with a very high peak, and usually they have less than 6 hours between the occurrence of the rainfall and peak flood. River floods are caused when consistent rain or snow melt forces a river to exceed the capacity. And thirdly, coastal floods. These are caused by storm surges associated with tropical cyclones and tsunamis. The major flood prone regions of India includes Punjab, Haryana, most of the parts of Gangetic Plains including UP, North Bihar and West Bengal, then the Brahmaputra Valley, along with that the coastal Andhra Pradesh, Orissa and southern Gujarat. Nowadays, Kerala and Tamil Nadu are also feeling the fury of the floods. If we take a look at the steps which are being taken in order to mitigate this disaster, first is that floodplain zoning is done. This was initiated in our country, which provided for taking up surveys and demarcation of the flood zones or plains. Then the National Water Policy, it highlights the provisions for project planning, surface and groundwater development and irrigation and flood control. The work of flood forecasting and warning in our country is entrusted with the Central Water Commission. So this was all for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll see you all again tomorrow with another segment of Current Affairs 365 only on Borthakur's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. Till then, take good care of yourselves and keep learning. Bye-bye.
বৰঠাকুৰ IAS Academy প্ৰস্তুতি আৰু অধ্যয়নৰ নিৰ্ভৰযোগ্য ঠিকনা। বৰঠাকুৰ IAS Academy।